You're welcome. The European Union is threatening to impose restrictions on Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire on cocoa exportation into ports of their member countries if the deforestation that is being caused by illegal mining is not dealt with immediately. According to the Deputy CEO of Cocoa Board, Dr. Emmanuel Ajimanjumo, who revealed this at the ongoing National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining, the EU also believes that growing of cocoa in the thick forest might be one of the driving forces. Dr. Emmanuel Ajimanjumo also disclosed that galamsey is impacting crop yield negatively, and the pits that have been dug are killing humans and wildlife, also eroding the gains of Cocoa Board and government.
Illegal mining, galamsey, in cocoa areas, the position of Ghana Cocoa Board. And my outline, we're going to look at, that's a short introduction, mining in cocoa areas affected by illegal mining and small-scale mining, the impact of mining on cocoa production, Cocoa Board interventions, and what needs to be done the way forward. Mr. Chairman, as we all know, cocoa is the mainstay of Ghana's economy, generating more than $2 billion in foreign exchange annually, and it's a major contributor to government revenue and GDP. Revenue generated from cocoa is used in the provision of various public infrastructure development in Ghana. Apart from the over 2 million farm families engaged in cocoa production, over 200,000 other individuals are engaged in either trade, transportation, or processing of cocoa. Cocoa is a strong pillar in the stabilization of the city, unlike the other minerals, which have high capital flights. Cocoa helps in the restoration of the forest in the middle belt because of the nature of the cultivation that we do in our cocoa practice. The historical importance of mining in the economic development of Ghana is considerable and well documented, with the country colonial name Gold Coast reflecting the importance of mining sector. Gold dominates in the mining sector of Ghana, and Ghana is Africa's second most important producer of gold after South Africa. The third largest producer of manganese and aluminium, and a significant producer of bauxite and diamonds. The mining sector has one of the most serious disastrous environmental consequences conflicting with the livelihood, especially cocoa farmers, and the survival of residents in the cocoa communities. Much has been written of late about the illegal small-scale mining in Ghana and the negative impact it's having on agriculture, especially cocoa production. The question that may be asked, is Ghana's mining a threat or a complement to that? Because those places are turned into galamsey, the land has been, the cocoa has been removed. What you see is that when you take the satellite images, you see the place showing red. And EU thinks that all those places is because of cocoa that is causing the land degradation. Meanwhile, it is as a result of the galamsey activities that is the cause of the problem that we have. And as we speak, they are threatening us that they're going to sanction Ghana and they're going to prevent cocoa from entering their port. And when this thing happens, where are we going to sell our cocoa? So loss of economic trees, these are also happening. Trees like Ufuntum, Odum, Nyamidria, and so forth and so on. These are all economic trees. They are being removed and being replaced with these galamsey activities.
Emmanuel Ajimanjumo, the Deputy CEO of the Cocoa Board. Well, while we wait for the communique Out of this stakeholders meeting, President Akufo-Addo has been asked to move beyond the ongoing consultative dialogue on small-scale mining to cause an investigation into and the prosecution of government appointees accused of engaging in illegal mining in the past. Speaking at the opening of the national dialogue, the president said that he is resolved to prosecute appointees if allegations are backed with evidence. A natural resource researcher with the Center for Social Impact Studies, Richard Elima, is joining me on Zoom. Hello, sir. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
So, we've had a national dialogue ongoing between yesterday and today. Hopefully, it will end today. I want to start by taking your thoughts on that.
Sorry, the sound is so bad. I can barely hear it.
Okay, let me go through it again. I'm asking what your thoughts are with this dialogue that we have started, seeking to get an answer to our Galamsey problem. What are your thoughts, initial thoughts about this ongoing process? A lot of people have said, well, it's going to be one of those talk shops.
There are breakages in your voice, so I can't hear anything, actually.
Okay. I'm going to try this one more time, and if it doesn't work, we'll have to hang on and call you right back, if that's okay. So once again, I'm taking your thoughts on the national dialogue we're holding in this country on illegal mining. Is this clear enough? Okay, looks like I'm having a difficulty connecting with Mr. Elima there. He's a researcher with the Center for Social Impact Studies. Want to look at the social impact of our activities with illegal mining. We'll try and raise him back on the Zoom so we get to talk to him once again. We're actually trying to reach him on phone, if that's possible, so we can have this conversation. But the point is, 2 days of national dialogue. The question that people are asking it is, what will it do? At this dialogue, we're hearing from the Cocoa Board that Ghana risks attracting some restrictions from the EU as far as exporting cocoa from this country to any of the EU member states. And cocoa is, of course, one of our biggest cash cows as a country, one of our biggest exports here in Ghana. Should there be restrictions, the consequences will obviously be dire, not just on the farmers, but of course on the country's economy, on the country's GDP and our ability to raise revenue. I'll try to have a conversation again, looking or focusing that part of the conversation on the social impact of Galamsey. Mr. Elima is a researcher, and he's joining me now on phone. Mr. Elima, apologies for the previous inability to establish the conversation there. The first question I was asking was to take your thoughts on the ongoing national dialogue on illegal mining. Some people have said it is going to be one of those things. Is this a very bad position to take when we're seeking solutions to this age-old problem?
Oh, ordinarily, it should have been a very positive step. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking to stakeholders about the problem of Galamsey. After all, this is something that we've been pushing, that government should have a broad-based consultation on the strategies to address Galamsey. But those skeptics also have, a point. I mean, we have a history where we've had several fora on illegal mining, small-scale mining, but at the end of the day, the recommendations end up not being implemented. So people think, well, this is also one of the talk shops, and you can't fault them too much. It is guided by history. So I'm only hoping that this will be a unique one. I'm hoping the new minister, with the kind of energy that he has started injecting into the ministry, will translate into a more positive reaction to the strategies that we need to address to end the menace of Galamsey.
What kind of research has your establishment conducted? I'm sure you have, as far as the social impact of Galamsey activities. Can you run us through some of the things that you have discovered?
Well, basically, we've looked at the impact of Galamsey on the local economy, for instance. And we noticed that in terms of direct direct impact on the livelihood. Galamsey, unfortunately or fortunately, has a more positive impact on the community than large-scale mines. When you take the large-scale mines, it is the state that benefits. But for Galamsey or small-scale mines, depending on which one you are talking about, both of them have a direct, impact on the livelihoods of communities. We also have a situation where increasingly we are seeing farmers who are offering their farmland to miners to come and mine and then pay them off. And when you talk to them, they tell you that the cocoa money doesn't come as frequently as the money from mining does. So they prefer giving out their farms, either give it out on and take rent every month, take a rent, or every year take a rent, or they sell it off completely and take the money in bulk and then go and do something else. So that is also one other issue that we are looking at. And then if you move beyond that to the gender aspect, people don't know that on the Galamsey site, we have women who are also very actively working at the site. They are actively carrying rocks, they are actively engaging in the mines, though on some of the sites, they are not permitted to go underground for traditional and cultural reasons. But then, if you come to the surface, some of them carry the load, what they call the load. They carry the load from one point to the other. Some of them crack the rocks. Some of them are the mill where the ore is grounded. Some of them are also found selling food and other items to the miners. So all these are people who are within the mining value chain and who are affected anytime there's a policy change with regards to mining, particularly small-scale mining, as we are talking about.
I like the point you made about Galamsey and the fact that the impact of Galamsey, in terms of the positive impact of Galamsey on the communities within which these activities take place, are direct. Which is why one will say that this conversation is extremely important, so that we don't just clamp down and have this conversation about clamping down on illegal miners, which has not worked, by the way. What solutions can you suggest in terms of this conversation that has started? What solutions can you suggest, looking at the positive impact you have talked about as far as Galamsey is concerned on the communities within which these miners operate?
Having worked with the miners for these years, one thing is very certain. The need for government to formalize the sector. I understand the World Bank is currently supporting the government to undertake the formalization of the sector. Formalizing the sector will help us to streamline the operations of these Galamsey operators. And when I talk of streamlining their operations, I'm actually referring to legalizing their operations, making sure they have access to tools and skills that can help them to mine in an environmentally friendly manner.
Let me just jump in. Let me just jump in on that point about mining in an environmentally friendly manner. I want to discuss with you whether that is possible, to what extent that is possible, but just hold on for me. I need to go quickly to the Accra International Conference Center. I'm speaking to Boso. Now, Boso is a Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, an NGO that's concerned about the environment. And we know that they have waged war against mining in the Etiwa Forest, for example. They're also part of the ongoing stakeholder engagement where we're expecting a communique to be issued. Daryl, thank you. Good afternoon. How the conversation has been going on since yesterday. What are the highlights for you?
Yes, I think it is very clear that at the moment we need to be paying attention to compliance and enforcement, because we are here today and yesterday, I should say, all because we have failed to ensure full compliance and enforcement of our existing laws. There is no lack in policy and legal frameworks, as we have all acknowledged. There's rather a need for us to ensure that the policies and legal frameworks are comprehensively applied without fear or favor. And that's, for me, what is the take home from here. And as we go into looking at the clear blueprints for what to do, we need to look at the legal frameworks and, more importantly, how we can implement them. the discussion so far shows that there needs to be more action on the part of political actors and also some of our state agencies, and that means that we need to start resourcing the state agencies to do their work very well.
As an environmentalist, and for somebody whose organization has waged war against the mining of bauxite in the Etiwa forest, are you picking any positive feedback from this conversation that's ongoing, that we will actually make any progress with this conversation?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, we have acknowledged across the country that this small-scale mining and the manner in which it's been done is not helping us at all. And so we really need to restructure the system, reform the practices, and even ensure that we set clear boundaries for these small-scale miners. And that's, for me, what is going to take away from here. And this decision and action that we are planning here is also going to reflect on every aspect of our national development in the way we use our forest reserves, and I'm sure that will also have a positive impact on the need to secure Atiwa forest, for example, because one of the key things we're realizing is that we have failed to ensure compliance with the clear boundaries that are already in existence. And if you continue to let these things pass, let miners mine wherever they want, and if miners are doing that and government also wants to mine in a protected forest reserve, then this poses challenges. So the boundaries we are setting is not only with illegal miners, but also with state agencies themselves to ensure that the right thing is done at all times.
To what extent will you describe what is happening, which you have been a part of, as not a talk shop, as some people have said?
Say again, I didn't hear you.
To what extent will you describe what is going on right now as not a talk shop? Some people have said it is just going to be one of those talk shows. You know, we come and sit and talk and move on with our lives. To what extent will you say, based on what you have seen and heard, this is not one of those?
You see, at the moment, I wouldn't want to pat anybody on the back as yet. I would, but however, I still want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see how we translate all these talks into action. Then we can start saying that, okay, we went to dialogue, we have put all into practice. And so at the moment, I'm not going to pat anybody on the back, but we're going to make sure that we monitor what is happening and ensure that all the actors, all the good statement we are making here is implemented. The minister has showed his commitment. We're going to keep monitoring and make sure that the right thing is done.
Finally, what are your expectations of the immediate steps that ought to be taken when you leave where you are today?
Yes, I think one of the key things I'm expecting is a clear, I would say, milestones we set for ourselves, and when to achieve certain actions that we plan for ourselves, and what the government itself is going to do in respect of some of the red flags that has been raised here. Because if we raise key issues or challenges to the mining sector and they are not addressed within the shortest possible time, then we are not actually going to make progress. So living here, we want to see the milestones that we are going to take away and how government intends to respond to them. And this must be as soon as possible because the miners are still on the ground.
Miners are still on the ground. Daryl, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Daryl Boso, he's with Arocha Ghana, an NGO that's into environmental. That are environmentalists and also been pushing against mining of bauxite in the Etiwa forest. I bring you back, Mr. Elima, to this conversation. You heard him say that the activities of the miners, of course, are dangerous to our environmental conservation. But you are making the point about how we can regulate that particular process. Is this something that we just cannot get? Or have we just failed as a nation to let this information trickle down to the galamseyers, to the illegal miners?
Well, clearly there are two problems that we need to address. First of all is the issue of our inability to implement the law. People don't know that there is a law in Ghana against mining in forest reserves, number one. Number two, there is also a law in Ghana against mining in water bodies. There is a buffer zone that you have to create. So within a certain perimeter, you cannot mine if it is close to a water body. That is the law. if we were to strictly adhere to this law, I am sure we wouldn't be talking about the environmental mess that we find ourselves in. The second thing about this whole discussion on Galamsey has to do with the inability of the Minerals Commission, the ministry, to sanction companies and individuals who breach these laws. It's mind-boggling. I mean, if you come to the community and you see the extent of environmental degradation, you will be shocked. And you will ask yourself, do we really have regulators? The Minerals Commission is a regulatory body in charge of mining. And it is their duty to ensure that anybody who does mining does so in accordance with the rules of the profession. But unfortunately, the Minerals Commission does not. They do not. If you talk to them, they will tell you they do not regulate illegal mining. So we've left the illegal miners to do as they like, and they are destroying the environment any way they want. So we need a more proactive, effort from the Minerals Commission to stop the mess that is going on. But I must also say, mining is environmentally friendly mining. It's very possible. Some countries have done it, and Ghana can do it within the ambit of our laws.
I asked the question that I'm asking you the question that I asked Daryl earlier about what will your expectation be as a researcher. I think before we went off, I was asking you to share with us some of the things that you have found, which you did. So from there, from that standpoint, what are your expectations from this 2-day national dialogue on illegal mining?
Let me make this statement. I do not think there is anybody at the conference center, I don't think so, anybody from the president to the least person in the room who does not know how to address the problem of illegal mining. Every one of them knows, everyone knows, including the minister himself. What is lacking is the political will and the courage to do what is needful. So from this consultative meeting, I am expecting the minister to hit the ground running and start going after the elite who are behind illegal mining in the communities. Those causing the mess are not the young boys, the poor young boys from the communities who work and earn 10 cedis or 30 cedis a day. But they are the elite who live in the cities, who live in Accra, Kumasi, and other places, who pump money into the operation. And normally, these are political party financiers, these are prominent chiefs, these are police officers, these are senior military officers who are investing in illegal mining. I expect the minister to go after these people. That is the only way we can stop this menace. Else, this consultative committee will just be another talking shop.
Is that realistic, your expectations? Do you think it's realistic looking at how far we have dealt with this problem?
I do not think it is idealistic at all. It is realistic. We can do it. If the minister indeed is interested in halting the mess, if he thinks it's not doable, then we shouldn't have done this consultative meeting in the first place.
Okay. Well, Ms. Elima, I'll say a very big thanks to you for your time. Good afternoon once again. Richard Elima is a researcher with the Center for Social Impact Studies. His position is that the first step we ought to take after this national dialogue is to go after the big men, the politically connected, the politically exposed, the people with the big cash, because he says they are fueling the activities of illegal mining and not the small boys, as he puts it, on the ground. We see how it goes. A resident of Sibi in the Nkwanta North District of the Oti region have been digging around a stinking, dirty brown pond to harvest water for drinking and other domestic use. The situation, residents say, has affected every aspect of their lives. According to them, government workers posted to the area leave after a short stay. Peter Seno has the report.
Residents at Sibi in the Nkwanta North District tell JoyNews the animals would not want to drink from this source. From these dugouts, it is first come, first serve until one's pans are filled with water. The brown, stinking, dirty, stagnant water is what residents here depend on for their immediate domestic use.
Since we vacated last 3 months, we have no water to drink. We find it difficult to go to dam and go to fetch water. So this one we are pleading. Everyone should help us. Look at how our people are suffering. We can since morning to evening, we will not get water to drink. We the student cry. Sometimes we doesn't have the zeal to go to school because some of the leaders in our communities, they are there. Yes. They can't even talk for us that we don't have water. And we have so many great people in this society, but we see nothing. So if you people can help us, I should help us. Look at this water, very dirty. We are going to drink, cook. So we are pleading so that you guys should help us.
Those who can afford say they would have to travel to Kwaza or Damanko to get safe drinking water. They spend not less than 50 Ghana cedis a day. The mostly peasant farming residents say this is affecting their quality of life. The dire situation has affected education, health, and even religious activities in the area as Muslims enter the holy month of Ramadan.
As there is no water, the way we do our things, if it has come to dry season, we cannot go to farm. And the market too, and ladies are not suffering. So some don't have time for their work. We have reached Ramadan now, and there is no water in the mosque. So we travel far away to get water. And then fasting too, we have to wake up early and do our cooking. So it has become a problem.
Most children also turn the place into playground as they wait for their turn. 2 children, we are told, died from snake bites while searching for water. Residents are placing SOS call to all and sundry to come to their aid immediately to provide potable water as their plight is dehumanizing.
To the best of my knowledge, digging boreholes here will not get water. If only government will help and give it a big dam, that one will even help more than even coming to dig. Even if it is 1,000 boreholes, we will not get water. Because people are trying a lot of digging it, but they are not getting water.
If a day break like this, how the children to get the water and bath and go to school is a major problem in our community here. And the doctors, those are here, nurses, they are suffering of the water. If they post them to come here and do works excellently because of the water, they will not come. So now we need the help from the government to assist us.
This dugout has been dug since in 1960s, our great-grandfather's time. And I will plead on the government if you can come to our aid to convince it to a dam, so that maybe one village, one dam, if you can convince it to it, so that it can stay. When they dug this thing, it takes us 20 years before it is even getting full. And they re-dig it again, it takes 15 years, and this is where it has been reached. So I'm pleading the government to come to our aid. If the one district, one dam, or the one village, one dam, if you can come and then reconvent it, so that it can be deep for us to use again.
The 2 chiefs who preside over the town have this to say.
So come no ye din ma ye wa ha papa nsu a ye nye wa ha no gise kpasa na ye beko nkola kwa ne ha ye pa tuturu no se ibia motokin anase car na sese wo se ye tinye na dabi mistake bi ba mo na se accident ba danu de na ya wie kura.
Naturally, Sibi Hilltop, it is difficult for us to get water. A lot of politicians have been trying to help us in order to get water for us, but when they dig, they don't get water unless they travel distance from the village before they could get water. So in fact, the dam that our forefather dug is a place we normally source water from, and it's very dirty too. So it has not been helping us. Every year we suffer for water, not only this year.
Quality health delivery in the area is equally being affected.
And in prevention, you need water. Water is life. Without water, you can't do anything. And how can you live in a community without water? It's a very serious issue. I've been here for 4 years now. And if I want to share my past experience, it's not easy. Because I'm not disgracing myself though, but sometimes you have to bath once a day because there's no water. It's very serious. Sometimes when you touch a client, water to wash your hand becomes a problem, which is very serious. As I'm talking to you now, in this era of COVID-19, we need water for our clients to wash their hands before we touch them, but there's no water. We are at risk. We have families somewhere. They need us alive. Even Ghana, they need us alive. In this community, they need us alive because we are helping them. Without water, how can we live? We are begging. Any agencies, any organization, the government, they should come to our aid. We are begging them.
And we also have a maternity unit here. So, you know, like when it comes to maternity issues. So as for water there is like it's a thing that it is most often needed in our health sector. If you are not to get a good drinking water for a very long time, you know, you hardly would you want to stay. So there are some health workers that have been posted to the district, but then within some few time they take a transfer, or they will do, I mean, like whatever thing that they want to do, then they get out of the district.
SDG Goal 6 continues to be a mirage as communities continue to struggle with access to potable drinking water. From CB, here in the Nkwanta North District, in the Oti region, my name is Peter Sanu for JoyNews.
While speaking earlier on News Desk, Henry Ampa Johnson, who is the OT Region Director at the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, said the problem will be fixed within a year.
And we are trying to put all the broken facility back in place. We have gotten water system managers who are there, a water system manager and his staff who are there now trying to fix it. So that is the story now. And I want to assure the listening public that within the next 6 to 1 year time, CB and its environment will be giving potable or safe drinking water. They were called to a roundtable conference, and I think all issues were addressed. That is one of the challenges we had. That's why government has mandated CWSA to go in, manage the facility directly, bring in professionals so that it will be accountable to CWSA, and that is what we have started across the country.
For his part, Yao Ata Ahin, the WASH Technical Coordinator for World Vision Ghana, said provision of potable water for rural communities has not been prioritized by successive governments.
Who doesn't know that the easiest way to deny people social and economic opportunities and to trap them in a perpetual cycle of poverty is to deny them access to safe water, safe drinking water? And yet, we know all this, and we allow communities to rely on such dirty and contaminated water. I mean, it is unacceptable anywhere in this world. Look, unfortunately, safe water delivery doesn't appear to be a priority, and very little improvement is happening.
You're watching The Pulse. I am Gifty Andropia. Take a very quick break. We'll be right back. This afternoon, there's a call for action as both young and old join demands for a change in the insecurity situation at Kaswa, a suburb of the central region. Some young men are using their music to push for change, as a traditional leader in the community, Nisaka Odupong III, says he has petitioned authorities to demolish the refugee camp at Buduburam, which he says has become a hideout for criminals. Maxwell Agbaba with more in our series of stories highlighting the security challenge in Kaswa.
Sound of one of the songs by the group known as Sobolo Gang blaring from the loudspeakers of a car parked in a neighborhood at Kaswa. The chorus loosely translates as Kaswa residents, we have given our lives to Jesus. It addresses some issues like drug abuse and social vices like robbery, murder, and more. Isaac Adolfo Somoa, also known as Boy Dope, is a resident of Kaswa and a member of the group. He says he is terrified by the alarming crime rate.
We get scared because, you know, we ride in cars often and our music is on TV now. Most stations are playing it and some people identify us when we go outside as musicians or upcoming musicians, so to say. So at least at times we get scared, very scared. But then we have Operation Come Live running around every time here, so at least it's better, but I think there should be more security here.
These young men are not the only people worried about the situation in Kaswa. A traditional leader there, Ni Saka Odupon III, is equally concerned. He wants the refugee camp near Kaswa to be demolished.
The refugee camp, that place, the camp, this is the time the camp should be dissolved. This is the time. You know, I cannot take the law into my own hand and do what I like. But we decided to petition the security agencies. If they fail to honor what we want them to do, then we will take the law into our own hand and go there with our Safo people and demolish the refugee camp. But the police also, you know, at times they used to overcome the police. And there is no enough men there to help to fight the crime there. A time will come. But recently, there are some armed robbery cases that happened there, murder cases, a whole lot, which I cannot mention all of them.
In 2019, the then Central Regional Minister Kwamna Duncan said the refugee camp has now become, quote, an incubator for criminals. Ni Saka Odupon III is appealing to the Inspector General of Police to increase police personnel in Kaswa.
I'm appealing to my good friend, that is the IGP, James Opobueno, to increase more men there. And them too, they shouldn't look to the politicians, because to calm all these things down, the police, they have to hold their duties, what they have been charged for. They have to do it. They shouldn't fear any politician. Then increase the men there. That will solve the problem. But if the police also, they are afraid of the politicians, because they know that if I say something now, today then they'll transfer me to a remote village. So they also keep quiet and be looking at them. That is what is happening. So I'm appealing to IGP and then the CID. They should increase more people there, more men there, because at times the criminals, they overcome the police. The men there, there are not enough men there.
Adib Sani is a security analyst. He has experienced the insecurity situation in Kaswa and wants authorities to take action.
Well, I have a personal experience. I remember I went for a weekend at Kaswa and thieves broke into the house, stole our personal effects. When I personally went to the police to report, they knew that address, apparently. Oh, Alaji Pio Honum will be coming. To date, no police officer has come there. So this is indicative of the culture of impunity that is allowed to fester in the area, to the extent that I know of certain persons who are victims of crime, from serious crimes to lesser crimes, who don't even take the trouble to report to the police because they ask themselves, to what end? So that is also invariably motivating criminals to perpetrate crime. And this is hinged on a theory I always talk about, rational choice. Before someone perpetrates a crime, he's human, he's sane, he's able to juxtapose the risk factors against the reward factors. So if I'm a potential criminal and I feel that it's a free-for-all, if I perpetrate this crime, the probability that I'll be caught, I'll be held accountable is low. Obviously, I'll be motivated to perpetrate that crime.
One armed robber identified as a suspected armed robber identified as Chankiki, aged 30, has been gunned down, whilst 2 others believed to be connected to the Market Circle daylight robbery in Takrady are on the run following a gun battle between the police and the robbers. The victim and his wife, who reside in Switzerland, came to Ghana to monitor a building project and were attacked by 6 armed men on motorbikes while buying building materials. Charles Kwachi later died at the Takrady Government Hospital after he was shot in the chest. Western Regional Public Relations Officer DSP Olivia Adiku says police, upon a tip-off, invaded the hideout of the robbers, which resulted in the gun battle.
A team of officers from the Western Regional Criminal Investigations Department, together with officers from SWAT Accra region, conducted an intelligence-led operation to arrest suspects who are wanted in the Takrady Amanfo robbery and murder on 12th of April 2021. Police closed in on suspect at Almina along the Cape Coast Takrady Road. In an attempt to arrest the suspect, they engaged police in a shootout, but one of them, later identified as Shankiki, aged about 30 years, was gunned down. 2 others managed to escape on one other motorbike.
Following the recent robbery and murder incidents within the Tekendi Takrady metropolis, the Western Regional Criminal Investigation Department, together with SWAT from Accra, conducted an intelligence-led operations, and yesterday at about 8 p.m. They accosted the robbers on the Elmina Cape Coast Road. The robbers engaged the police in a gunfire battle, and in the process, one of the robbers by name Shakinki, who is aged about 30 years, was gunned down. The other 2 managed to escape. Shakinki was gunned down, was on board a motor vehicle with registration number M-606-20. It was retrieved from the scene. His body has been sent to the police hospital morgue. When the motorbike was inspected, it was realized that he had put a sticker on part of the registration number for it to read Jean W606. The team were able to locate the hideout of these criminals, and when they got there, they were able to arrest one Hussein Inusa, aged 25 years. They also found 1 AK spent ammunition. They also found a talisman and a live tortoise at their hideout. Inusa Hussein is currently in police custody, being interrogated.
Body of deceased suspect robber is being conveyed to the police hospital morgue for presentation and autopsy.
On the lookout for the 2 others who ran away. So we are still closing in on them, and we are hoping that with the cooperation we are getting from the public, we'll be able to arrest them.
So are you still going to reward anyone with that 10,000 now that you have made some efforts?
No, it depends. It depends. For now, I don't have any information that it was somebody who gave information to police that led to the arrest. But if it was an individual who gave information to police, definitely that person will be rewarded.
For Joy News in Athalia, Kwanza, Western Region.
I want to take you back to the Accra International Conference Center, where the communique is being read by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
Sets legislative and/or executive action, as the case may be, to give effect to the set of measures arising from this dialogue and approved by the government. 14. The dialogue called on all stakeholders, all citizens, and all persons who are residents as well as visitors to our country to be mindful of and give due regard, respect to the laws of the land, to ensure peaceful coexistence for all of us, for all, as well as build a solid foundation for our future based on our natural resources rather than waste these and destroy our heritage. 15. The dialogue resolved that similar consultations should be held in all the mining regions and the mining districts of our country. Further to that, other public relations tools should be employed to generate overwhelming public support for the national policy on small-scale mining as above stated. Signed, Honorable Samuel Abdullahi Jinapo, MP, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, dated this 15th day of April 2021. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, as many people as are in favor of this official communique, say aye. Aye. As many as are opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This is the official communique of the National Consultative Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining held at the Accra International Conference Center on 14th and 15th April 2021. Thank you for your attention.
Can we give the Honourable Minister another round of applause, please? And now I call on the Honourable Nana Eya MP for Gumua Central to give us the vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for her.
And that's the National Dialogue on Small-Scale Mining, the ongoing at the Accra International Conference Center. You heard my colleague Mamavia Usawaji there wrapping it up over there. And then the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, there, who read through the communique and led the people to accept it. There will be more on this subsequently. But motorists who ply the Tor Road are lamenting the poor state of the stretch, which connects the Tema Harbour to the Pone Township. In August of last year, Roads Minister Kwesi Amoakwata cut salt for the reconstruction of the road in 24 months. But 8 months after the salt cutting, the project is yet to take off. According to users of the road, mostly drivers of fuel tankers and heavy-duty vehicles from Tor, that's a Tema Oil Refinery and Harbour, the unmotorable nature of the road is impeding productivity. My colleague Manuel Kranting has been speaking to some of them who want the road fixed immediately.
This entire Tor to Pone road is sandwiched by a lot of OMCs. Well, we've seen a lot of the fuel. In fact, there are a lot of tank farms. And so as a tankers park there, this is the same road that they ply, and that puts a lot of pressure on the road. We're told that this road, which is about 7.2 kilometers, is going to have the initial 2 kilometers, covered in concrete, and then the rest, which is 5 kilometers, will be covered by asphalt. But for almost a year since the salt was cut by the Honourable Roads Minister, they tell me that the contractor is yet to come on site. It's thick dust that is formed into the atmosphere. For other road users, this is a nuisance, and it's even causing them health hazards. And as you can see, this road is subject to heavy-duty vehicles, not only the saloon cars, which are taxis and so on. And so we just got this trailer driver to park and then speak to us.
Oh, one cause we do an issue. Who say the Kwana busy kakra? Kwana busy. But last week in Po, we did not have fancy. One we do nama or sugar or the fancy. Nama in a drug form. Nama in a drug form. And I say, Menko Ampon and Milodus and Yamano. Cast be bread from a report and a call, Masse. Yeah, the big war, a new first Mass and a warehouse in Masse. Instead, the call on cars 9 to 8 hours and more than 20 cars.
Oh, really?
And that they say so into a danica cowness na car moboka.
It's a way say a good firms and one cat and
good for books and a cow and a boca. Oh, you're fasting, say, as of 5 1 can I was
oh, you're fasting.
My first name, I'm grandpa, when I'm fast, I have from me, so that one shaking it.
I'm around into fast. I want here to me.
I'm not sure. I mean, I will be about to the autumn. I know I'm going to go.
Go on, go baby. I'll be fine.
I want to wiki me.
I'm going to wiki you. That's Ali, one of the trailer drivers, who was just speaking to me about his own experiences on the Pone Tor Road, and he says that just like these, heavy-duty vehicles that have been loaded with sugar and so on, what you have is that the goods sometimes fall off, and when they fall off, for instance sugar, you are unable to pick them back into the sack, and that becomes debt for the car owners. Okay, so as we try to drive on the road, we've seen this vulcanizer who works here, and so I'm just trying to speak to him. Boss, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Abiaboko.
Road no isu twa. Menya juma. Hanyina kwan hanyina isu twa. Efa nyina hwesoro ha no amanfo krafa. Unya kwan kra ntwam.
Asensu twa enkofo de car fa ha.
Basike moto nyina ha na efa. Car de say do be fa wem.
Okay. It is insu twa o tesa han mini ayema.
Hanyina ayema. Na shop oni hanyina ayema.
But say omoka say nka omo be ye road no ana.
Oh, and you sha say kra che. Da oni machine ba nso machine ba bi efiri ba.
Okay.
And you san go back.
Machine ba na ko.
Ba na san ko. Aba na nya ban papa.
Oh yeah, sure.
Na me say me twantro. Say we ya the papa e be kan. We ya bone so e be kan.
Then he's been telling me about how when it rains, even his shop here is inundated and he's unable to operate. But of course, again, just like a lot of the other drivers, this gentleman here is a taxi driver. His spring just got broken while he was using the road. And so he's trying to fix, just parked at the vulcanizer and trying to fix it. My boss, now, okay, then I know.
Pacho, your friend, Echo, me you walk on road in so.
Okay.
Now, road in any entity, on Friday, I may spring in a boo. In so this is a quarter spring for me, scanning or some facing old one back is now the title, so I'm the human. Say, quantity and yakra, and yet, it's a quantity of spring the buoy. A quantity of spring in the buoy because the way I port to is a quantity no etutunu. In the Mawana Macacana, a chiacosea, but to make boo spring. Because I can't my dasodia, almost no quantity daso to be also correct.
So just a few meters away from that vulcanizer we just spoke to, but this track is also broken down, and you can see the men busily working to try and revive it, and it's all because of the bad state of the road. My boss, the road, you said the road do what?
The road no good because the road they be chaka zala, you know good. Because the road no is well marker.
It can take about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because of the bad road, we don't want anything for the government. Make it try do this road from GTP roundabout to Pong.
Okay.
Make it do for years because this road is a busy road. It's road where it can hide. It be a boom profit for the Ghana.
I just try to speak to a few of the people here. Papa, taxi driver. Now, road here, Sanet here.
Asa roadway there. Bad road. I say Port Okra. Manhole ankasa. Nti ye ejuma oso a ye bre ankasa even obeko shops an obenye ska obenye obeko shops an emboye.
This is just one of the tracks. And in a day, you could have as many as 500 of these trucks moving to and fro. And that's it. Boss, now road no sanet here.
Basa, road no dey yanka na asemo. Munja jaja say sakwa be fa hokura na eyem hihie.
We ye hihie mo.
Because e kwani nye. Enti munga ja aban no won bo mode no hwe no mbo abo because e kwani nye kwankitoa. Traffic wa ha no kura na e bia endorse kura che motor we die kura because padudu o ha pa.
3 lives have been lost in an accident that occurred on the 37 Burma Camp Road at around 10 p.m. last night. The accident, which involved 2 young men who eyewitnesses say were racing along the road, took the lives of 3 hawkers and badly injured 3 others after the cars ran over them. Here is an eyewitness account.
And then around 10:30. Now your station inside. Now cars na sports cars ni bi wo mu that's one resist.
Around 10:30 last night, 2 sports cars were racing on the stretch. I don't know what exactly happened, but before we realized, they had run over a number of hawkers. We were the only drivers available, so we helped the police to move them from the scene.
The police for by Tamale we near and Yankwana Eboa Drama uniform card, so therefore, my final call barracks inside. Now, to hand over police.
Commercial drivers at the 37 station are blaming private drivers for the frequent occurrences of accidents.
Private drivers, no. Obinu woman driving woman because of automatic
Most of these private drivers are not experienced, especially the Uber drivers. It's hard to find trotro drivers causing problems on the road because we understudy drivers for a long time before we become drivers.
As an trotro driver being a problem because trotro driver no we mate work our experience.
The private drivers no cause the most problem in our sense trotro drivers. The private drivers no
private drivers are the cause of all our accidents. Yet we are always blamed simply because people think private drivers have money.
Private driver no cause problem no. Maybe a private driver no nikanti when say na the atia trotro driver no.
Trotro drivers are obenya accident na be a fairly brake ni brake atoma na say bibi say. So by young boys see
if a trotro driver gets an accident, it means his brakes have failed. But these young boys are paying for licenses every day without going through any learning process. But for us, we learn before we become drivers.
Now,
well, regular commuters on the 37 Bemakam stretch are, however, saying otherwise.
Most drivers are not well trained because you can realize that most people who go for the driving school pass through the mandatory exams as DVLA. How do you cause this accident? But people who just pass short connect acquire a driving license cause most of these accidents. Yeah, so that is what that's what I observed. Most of them don't go to the required training to acquire their licenses.
For now, I think I can say most of these accidents sometimes is from the unexperienced, driving. Some of the private cars, they don't go to proper, training, and then they get on the road. And then again, these truck drivers and the taxi drivers, they are always on hurry. Some violate the driving regulations, and then it's all part of the accident.
We have to have patience on the road. You see, if you have patience on the road, I don't think there will always be accidents. The speeding is just too much. We know the number of kilometers, wherever you reach, you have to go. But no, who overspeed, over unnecessary overtaking. You can't even see your face because you are climbing a hill. But you will try to overtake. Then all of a sudden, bang, accidents.
Maybe the drivers don't drive well. That can also cause that. Sometimes the experience also. That's why we careless. Yes, please.
This afternoon, the government is being urged to immediately deploy funds to enable relevant enforcement agencies to deal with the carnage on the nation's roads. 105 days since the year 2021 took off, and so far, 771 deaths have been confirmed as arising from road accidents. This puts the daily average of deaths on Ghana's roads this year at 7. The latest accidents since Tuesday have resulted in 18 deaths. Security analyst Professor Kwesi Ening argues that accidents have moved beyond a national security threat to become something that threatens our very existence as a nation.
Beyond just the security side, it encompasses economy, it encompasses our developmental schemes, it encompasses the family, community coherence. Our very existence is in danger. If the COVID had killed the number of people that have died last year and this year, if HIV kills at the rate that people are dying on our roads, we would have elevated it an existential threat. We would have found extra budgetary resources to ensure that the carnages are brought under control. We would have hauled those who are responsible to talk to the people of Ghana about the interventions that they are making, similar to the COVID intervention. Okay, so we need to change our approach, our attitude, our understanding to road traffic carnage. It's more than just what we see on the roads. Our very survival, our peace of mind is actually under threat because now you cannot take it for granted that X is going to this place and will return safely.
Well, the National Road Safety Authority says it will reintroduce the road toll levy as part of measures to improve safety on the country's roads. moves to implement a law that imposes a mandatory levy on all owners and persons in charge of motor vehicles for the purpose of towing broken down or disabled vehicles on our roads were abandoned in 2017 following a public uproar. But nearly 800 lives have been claimed through accident in the first quarter of this year, according to data available to the Ghana Police Service. Director of Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, David Adonting, tells JoyNews that plans are underway to bring it back.
The problem is still there, still killing people. We, as the National Road Safety Authority, we think that this project has not been abandoned. We will come up with it again. At the moment, we are discussing amongst ourselves technically. We are discussing with our ministry, with the police and other stakeholders. We are discussing even at parliament level. Bring back the project because we have realized that across the world, projects of this nature, because of its capital intensiveness, it is a private sector.
We'll be speaking to Dr. James Damsere Derry, who is Head of Transportation Engineering Division at CSIR, after this break. You're welcome back. Let me head to the phone lines now. I'm talking to Dr. Damsere Derry. He's Head of Transport Engineering Division with CSIR. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Already, the National Road Safety Authority has given indications they're thinking of bringing back the road toll levy. What do you think? Is it time to bring it back?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. In my personal opinion, I think it's even long overdue. This levy is very important for the country, and it will help save lives. Because of the current speed of accident involving disabled vehicles is rising. Currently, each year, about 3 to 4% of all fatalities on our road are due to collision involving disabled vehicles.
But does imposing a levy on the entire populace automatically solve the problem of leaving vehicles on the road? One of the reasons why Ghanaians have said they don't like paying taxes is because they say they don't see how the taxes are being used to make their lives any easier. So imposing taxes necessarily doesn't mean that the problem will be solved, does it?
I think this levy is just analogous to the national health insurance we have now. Because, those who argued that, we don't have to have a nationwide levy were arguing on the basis that their cars are good, they will not break down on the road, and so on and so forth. But this argument, those people who vehicles are not breaking down may still have their relative using disabled, involving in collisions that involve a disabled vehicle, or even they themselves can be victims to this incident. So if we are to say that our vehicles are strong and powerful, we can't, we will not break down, therefore there's no need to pay, then we are doing the nation a disservice.
One of the reasons why this was abandoned in 2017 was that Ghanaians disagreed with the idea of imposing taxes or levies on everybody else rather than targeting people who commit these offenses. They thought that it was a lazy way of thinking through the problem. Do you think that that has been adequately dealt with? That part of the problem has been adequately dealt with enough for us to be able to bring it back now?
I think this argument, everybody is entitled to their opinion. But personally, I think, this argument is, is untenable at this point of time. Because you cannot say that because your vehicles are not breaking down or your vehicle is good enough, you will not help to alleviate these kind of incidents on our road. Personally, when this accident occurred in Accra, for instance, I didn't have any relative there, but some people's relatives have died. So we have to, be a bit humanistic in our reaction to some of these things, because if we want to put too much passion in it, then we will kick against the levy. But personally, I think it's a good thing that will help the country.
The fear is paying money that goes into pockets unknown. And the suggestion at the time was that, why don't you fine heavily? Because people abandon their vehicles, they can't abandon it forever. There will be a way. There is a number plate. There are ways to find out who owns a vehicle. And the suggestion again was to leave that collection of the money from these people, hefty imposition of fines on these people, make the collection at the district and municipal, metropolitan levels, rather than impose a national levy. Is that not a more feasible approach?
Well, I would say no, because the whole country, as it stands now, needs that kind of service. And we cannot pay, or we cannot just levy those whose vehicles, and in fact, they are responsible for their own actions, and they should be proactive enough to call the towing agency to come and tow their vehicles off the road immediately after the vehicle is broken down on the highway or on the roadway. But the truth is that currently, if we are to only follow those principles, it will not help the country, because we still have these vehicles. Sometimes they are disabled on the rural areas where there are no towing vehicles and all those things. But if it is a nationwide exercise, anywhere that your vehicle breaks down, you can call the agency, the nearby agency, to tow it away from the roadway, rather than you being levied. You alone. Yes, it's good to be levying people for the towing, but that one, if we are to follow that principle, it will not help, solve the country. The country's problem of disabled vehicles on the highway.
So, the laws are made for the people and not the people for the law, the other way around. So, if you need to bring in a law like this, you need to get the public buy-in. That public buy-in we did not see in 2017. What do you think ought to be done by the institutions seeking to bring it back, to be able to get the public to, sort of accept this?
Yes, that was the missing link that made people kick against the levy. So if it is coming back, then the agencies involved should involve all the stakeholders into a dialogue for them to actually understand the fact that this thing that is being proposed is for the national interest, it's for the sake of the interest of the nation, and not for putting money into people's pockets. So I would think that for the country to go forward, we need such services that can help remove these kind of crashes that are occurring on our highway.
Okay. Doc, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it. Dr. James Damsere Derry is Head of Transportation Engineering at CSIR. I want to talk to you about COVID-19. Well, in Germany, the country continues to be badly affected by the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic, with the situation particularly difficult in intensive care units across the country. Meanwhile, politicians are debating the right way forward, with the Chancellor and the federal government taking more control from regional leaders. All this happens at a time when Germany is preparing for its big election in September to decide who will replace Chancellor Angela Merkel. Thomas Sparrow is joining me from Berlin with more. Thomas, let's start with the statistics. What are the figures looking like?
The third wave of the coronavirus pandemic is hitting Germany very hard. Over 400 districts are considered hotspots. Daily infections are very high, and the situation in intensive care units is very serious. The number of available ICU beds is sinking, which only explains why Chancellor Angela Merkel recently said that Germany needs to listen to the cries for help from the medical profession. Angela Merkel also stressed that the fight against the pandemic needs to be stricter, it needs to be more resolute. And all this comes on top of bitter discussions among the federal government and regional leaders regarding what the path forward for Germany should be.
Well, now that the federal government has taken over for the from the regional leaders, what will change in the case management of COVID-19 and how significant is this?
Well, up to now, the decisions on how to fight the pandemic had been agreed on by the German Chancellor and the leaders of Germany's 16 regions, which are ultimately in charge of implementing agreements on the ground. But finding consensus has become more and more difficult, and instead of a unified approach, what we're seeing in Germany is a patchwork of measures and a lot of confusion. In fact, a recent poll revealed that a majority of Germans has lost track of what measures apply where. And that explains why Chancellor Merkel and her cabinet supported the proposal which would grant the federal government more power to enforce uniform coronavirus measures. It may all sound very difficult, but in practice it means that any region in any state with a high incidence of coronavirus cases would be legally required to implement uniform rules.
Well, with the elections coming up in September, how will COVID and how it's been managed by the government affect its chances of maintaining its position in power?
Well, up to now, the decisions on how to fight the pandemic had been agreed on by the German Chancellor and the leaders of Germany's 16 regions, which are ultimately in charge of implementing agreements on the ground. But finding consensus has become more and more difficult, and instead of a unified approach, what we're seeing in Germany is a patchwork of measures and a lot of confusion. In fact, a recent poll revealed that a majority of Germans has lost track of what measures apply where. And that explains why Chancellor Merkel and her cabinet supported the proposal which would grant the federal government more power to enforce uniform coronavirus measures. It may all sound very difficult, but in practice it means that any region in any state with a high incidence of coronavirus cases would be legally required to implement uniform rules.
Sparrow is political correspondent with our partners DW, joining us all the way from Berlin. Now let's take a look at Ghana's figures so far. 42 new cases, dramatically improved situation, you would say. But our active cases remain 8,379. It doesn't mean, by the way, that we should still let our guards down, because 766 people have died. Food and Drugs Authority has asked manufacturers of herbal products to ensure strict adherence to the standards of the World Health Organization. Principal Regulatory Officer Anita Usukufuor says producers face possible shutdown if they fail to uphold best practices in herbal drug manufacturing. She spoke at a meeting with industry players in Kumasi. Here is a report by Kofi Asari.
The FDA is collaborating with the Herbal Drugs Manufacturers Association of Ghana to abreast industry players on standards for efficacy. Principal Regulatory Officer Anita Usukufuor says herbal manufacturers will have no excuse but to conform to good practices.
We've been going around to their facilities for some time, and when there are issues for them to address, which is non-compliances, they are asked to do it, and they do it well. However, we've gotten to a stage in the regulation that they have to upgrade the way in which they handle other issues that may come up, from the facility management, cleaning, sanitation, and documentation as a whole. So this is an interactive program to strengthen the already bond that we have with the local industry, which is the herbal.
President of the Herbal Drugs Manufacturers Association, Dr. Solomon Piakubi, wants President Akufo-Addo to publicly announce the efficacy of herbal drugs to allay public perception and to boost the industry. According to him, the industry is ready to produce quality products and adhere to good manufacturing practices.
If you recommend and you ask Ghanaians to eat dawa, kontomire, and the rest, automatically you are talking about herbal medicine. We use all these things in our production processes. So if the president should come in and add his voice, for people to ask they have confidence in orthodox medicine, we should have the same thing in herbal medicine or the organic medicine or the multi-component drugs. It will go a long way to boost our industry, as in the demand.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kofi Asari.
And the World Arts Day is celebrated every year on April 15 to promote the development, diffusion and enjoyment of art. The day was adopted by the International Association of Art, a partner of UNESCO, to create awareness of creative activity worldwide. Each year, World Arts Day celebrations help reinforce the links between artistic creations and society, encourage greater awareness of the diversity of artistic expressions, and highlight the contribution of artists to sustainable development. We bring you a story of a renowned artist with over 3 decades of experience. My colleague Anas Sabit has more.
Art, whilst I was in primary school, I saw in me that I can do something through drawings, through paintings and those kind of things. So it was when I was in class 4 that one of my teachers called me and said that you can see that I will be one of the greatest artists in the near future.
Anani Isaac, also known as Sigaro, is a renowned artist whose art brings to light the clash of ideas and concepts shown explicitly in the painting strokes of this genius.
I used to be drawing those times. We draw pictures of Jesus Christ and when we got to middle school, by then we call it middle school. That was time of Michael Jackson's, Bob Marley's and those musicians. So we used to draw them.
His works span across over 3 decades and are expressed in different media ranging from pencil art, acrylic painting, textile printing, linocut and lithography to screen printing.
For about 32 years from school, from A-level, that is from whilst doing my national service, and I've made it in this industry. It's helped me a lot. Yeah, it's helped me because what makes me happy is that I'm fulfilling what God has given to me. I'm putting it in use, helping people. I've helped many people through this trade.
Art is a testimony of the human condition. It encompasses all of our hardships, emotions, questions, decisions, and perceptions. To all artists across the world, art is life, and Sigaro tells me that there will be chaos in the world without art.
Art is a way of life, and I can say art is life. Even in creation, we see everything that God created through art. Everything that we see in life is art. You see, without art, there will be chaos in the system.
Sigaro recollects one of his memorable arts back in the primary school, something that motivated him to venture into the art profession.
One of my best work that boosted my morale was when that was 1978 when Abudu Golden Boy Abdul Razak used to wear the number 10 jersey for Ghana Black Stars. Then they I think they won one of the African Cup of Nations. They won a trophy, and I drew a picture with a pencil. By then I was in class 6. That was the time that people started admiring my works. So, and it boosted my morale, and from there I used to draw with charcoals on walls, even in my exercise books.
To Sigaro, art means everything because he eats, drink and sleep art.
It is my way of life. It's more than a profession. It's hobby. I eat art. If I come to work around 7, I used to move out of this place around say 11 p.m. in the night.
Despite the global appetite for African art, emerging talents do not have it easy here in Ghana.
In our country here, they don't admire art. They don't celebrate it. They don't even value it. Somebody will come, oh, go and do this thing for me, and if you are charging the person, you say, this small thing. They don't know that it takes a lot. by arranging what you are supposed to present to the person, even putting things together to get what you are after is something tedious.
Art nurtures creativity, innovation and cultural diversity for all and plays an important role in sharing knowledge and encouraging curiosity and dialogue. In order to help reinforce the links between artistic creation and society, as well as encourage greater awareness of the diversity of artistic expressions and highlight the contribution of artists to sustainable development, the World Art Day was instituted by the International Association of Art and celebrated on April 15th each year. But how many people are aware of this day? Even Sigaro is not aware because it is less publicized.
I will take this opportunity to thank you because if it were true, I wouldn't have known that today is World Art Day because it's not publicized as people used to be talking about Valentine and those things. And I'm happy you cherish or you regard the art industry. And I'm happy to hear art has also got international recognition and a day is chosen to be celebrated for the art industry. I'm really happy.
Anani Isaac wants government to help promote art by establishing art studios in schools to encourage practical art.
That should start from school. They should be building art studios. The materials should also be available for the students to have access. Our school art should be practical. It is an area that will be looked at.
With the introduction of technology, Sigaro tells me that one needs to constantly upgrade him or herself to fit into the terrain.
Anything in this life, we have advantages and disadvantages. Computer or this age in which we are, it helps the work to be faster. It relieves us from stress and from struggling and time too. Even right now, I used to go to some of my boys. You see, because they are to take one or two things from them. If you fear to learn, all that you know is all that you've learned, and all that you've learned is all that you know. So if you don't study hard, you'll be left behind.
As the world celebrates the World Art Day today, let's all appreciate the efforts put in place by artists to make the world a better place through art. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Tichiman.
And take a break to appreciate art on this day. And that's it by way of update this hour. There's more news at myjoyonline.com, and you can share the links with your contacts. When you click on them, military manhandle demonstrators, journalists for covering protest over lands at Teado. As a story coming in that will bring you more of in our subsequent bulletins. In Sarkodie, Efia Lydia Forson and others lead Free Equiapim Polo campaign on social media. As you know, she has been convicted, awaiting the sentencing. And top government officials pressured backbone because of me. That's a Sedun Ketia, General Secretary for the Opposition NDC, saying you click on that story and you get the links through which you can share the story with your contacts. Please do so. My name is Gifty Ando Apia.